Up until about 10 minutes ago, I thought that this book was White Knight with a K, like Summer Night. But yeah, it's just White Knight, like a night. And you look at the front of this book, you think there's gonna be like a lot of snow and stuff, or like a Christmas theme. Is it just me? Let's talk about White Knight. Anger is just anger. It isn't good. It isn't bad. It just is. What you do with it is what matters. It's like anything else. You can use it to build or to destroy. You just have to make the choice. Passion has overthrown tyrants and freed prisoners. Passion has brought justice where there was savagery. It has created freedom where there was nothing but fear. Passion has helped souls rise from the ashes of their horrible lives and build something better, stronger, and more beautiful. Many things are not as they seem. The worst things in life never are. Knowledge is the ultimate weapon. It always has been. Age is always advancing, and I'm fairly sure it's up to no good. But what is the point of having free will if one cannot occasionally spit in the eye of destiny? Hey, what's up, bookworms and Dresden fans? Mike back again to talk about a little more Dresden Files with the ninth adventure with Mr. Harry Dresden. That is, of course, White Knight. It's actually taken me a little bit to do this review because, it was the end of my Wheel of Time saga and all that stuff and just school, all kinds of busy stuff. So I'm sorry about the delay in this, but we're going to talk about it now as I've already kind of started small favors. So I didn't want to let those two start to bleed together. But guys, if you don't know, all of my Dresden Files videos are spoiler heavy. So if you haven't read at least up until White Knight, I'd probably turn back now because, yeah, we're going to talk about it. If you need a non-spoiler kind of sales job, I did a video for that previously, and I did a non-spoiler reviews for books 1 and 2 to kind of give you an idea if this is something that you'd be interested in. I'm willing to bet that it is, but there you go. Spoiler warning over. Let's go ahead and talk about White Knight. This one starts off as we've seen a few times, and it's got Murphy calling to ask Harry to come check out a crime scene of an apparent suicide. Harry does his usual thing, does some snooping around, and he finds a clue that refers to Exodus, book 22, verse 18, which, of course, all of us God-fearing people know is suffer not a witch to live. So we already think, okay, maybe something... this person was killed because they were a practitioner of the arts. Who knows? But Harry inquires if there are any other apparent suicides, and Murphy says to ask Butters. So right off the bat, I am very excited, thinking, okay, I got my folks here. I've got Murphy in this one. I've got Butters in this one. All I need is for Marcone and Michael to show up, and this is going to be my book, right? It almost happens. It almost happens. But while they're still there on the crime scene, Murphy attacks a veiled creature and threatens to arrest her. And it turns out it's Molly. And Molly is, she's really good at the veils so far. And she keeps kind of snooping around when Harry tells her, hey, wait in the car. And she's exactly in the wait in the car type, And so she keeps showing up in this unannounced or whatever. And Murphy's pissed, She's like, you could have... messed up the crime scene or whatnot. And Harry lets her take a good reaming here, and doesn't much make her apologize as much as he waits for her to apologize to Murphy. And Murphy promises that she decides not to send her to jail or whatnot. But theme that we get a little bit in this book that I probably won't talk too much about later, so I'm gonna throw it in now. Is there's no more kid gloves with Molly. He's he lays into her a couple times. He lays into her so bad at one point even Murphy's like, yo, take it easy, Dad. So he's not taking it very, very easy on her like he was. I feel like towards the end of proving guilty. I just thought for sure that he was still going to kind of be like, okay, this is it. But he's pretty hard on her. He's pretty hard on her in a way that I think you need to. I was saying I was expecting like the Ahsoka and Anakin kind of a relationship between them. I can still see some of that. Anakin had to get raw on her a couple times, and she had to do the same thing to him. And I'm sorry, I always get on these Clone War tangents. But Butters lets them investigate the corpses of some of the recent suicides, and Molly uses one of her other abilities that she's really strong in. She veils and the sight. She's really good in the sight. And the sight uncovers, again, the writing of Exodus, book 22, verse 18. And Harry determines, ladies and gentlemen, we have a serial killer. So, all right, I'm in. I feel like the cases are usually hit or miss right off the bat. Most of them usually get me in. In the case, I think everything except blood rights. I think I've been all about the cases. I think the cases have been really well done. And this is a good start. This is definitely a good start. So Harry keeps following the trail. It leads him to the conclusion somehow that Thomas is actually the person that is taking these young girls, these practitioners that keep being seen, with someone that fits Thomas's description. So, of course, Harry doesn't want to believe it. Lashiel actually starts to get him to kind of maybe think about, is it possible? Is it possible? So he's like, it's kind of like in Supernatural, whenever there was something wrong with Sam, Dean was always like, well, they were an evil son of a bitch or something. It was always an explanation. That's what I always going to go to is the Winchester Bros. If I'm not talking about Buffy and Angel, it's probably Supernatural. Love it. Don't care. So he goes to talk to Thomas, and Thomas isn't home. So he investigates because he has a key to Thomas's place, and he finds these semi-automatic weapons, and he finds pictures of about 20 or so missing girls. So all of the parts are lining up here. We knew in the last book we learned that he is part of the Wild Hunt, and I didn't know if that was going to kind of play into it or something like that. But there's lots of possibilities here. Obviously, I don't think that Thomas is went straight evil at this point, but I'm like, I'll be interested to see Butcher explain his way out of this one, right? Which he does. I mean, Butcher's just good like that. He's going to find a way to get out of it. But the police show up because the doorman didn't recognize Harry. And they thought he was a burglar or whatnot. But Harry has to pretend to be Thomas's scorned gay lover. And this is one of those things where I can see that people that are hypersensitive about this stuff will probably think that this is problematic, I think is the word they use now. This is hilarious to me because they've been playing it since Butters assumed that Harry and Thomas were gay lovers. I feel like it's something that kind of is a callback to that. So I find it amusing. If you didn't, not everything is going to land for everybody, but I thought it was very well done, especially when they're like, he hears people gossiping about Thomas being gay after that. So it's a little ribbing, I think, that's kind of went back, like I said, all the way back to was it Deadbeat? I think it was Deadbeat. And it's just good times. It's just good times. Anytime Harry is out of his element, it's always going to be quite fun. But Harry does talk to Lashiel. She tries to get him to accept that Thomas is guilty. And, while she's teaching him, his hand's still healing. And she's like helping him, like, he shows that she can only make him learn languages and stuff like that, understand languages, but, abilities as well. Like all of a sudden he's like a really good guitar player with the guitar that Butters gave him to practice with. Was it Butters that gave him the guitar? I think it was Butters that gave him the guitar. I don't know. It might be bleeding together at this point. But the relationship between him and Lashiel is getting deeper to a point where he actually calls her Lash now. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't seem like something you do to something you're not comfortable with, calling her Lash or whatever. But there's actually more to that, which they go into in a little bit. But we see Elaine again. I think this is the first time since Summer Night that we've seen Elaine. But she has been hired as a PI to try to track down these missing girls too. It turns out there's 36 practitioners that have gone missing in multiple cities. But not all of them have the Exodus clue on them, at least not that Elaine was able to find. Apparently Mouse, they've been kind of hinting that there's something special about Mouse. And apparently he has like some kind of like special bark or something that is like an alarm. I think I misinterpreted this. It just seemed like he was talking about like some kind of special bark. I don't know. Drop in the comments and explain that one to me if I'm missing it with Mouse. Obviously, I know that there's something important about him. Those monks wanted him. There was something very important about him. But as far as the special like alarm bark or whatever, I guess I kind of missed that. But anyway, this bark warns them that the building is not on fire. And you know what? It's not Harry's fault. That's the most important part, is when the building is on fire and it is not his fault. But as they escape, Harry sees someone in a gray cloak run off, and he gives chase, but they decides to follow, not actually capture him. He gets some paint and the license plate number, and he's able to use Little Chicago to track this guy and listen in on a conversation that he's having. And we have a meeting with this character and some mention about something called House Scavis and Cowl from Deadbeat. I told you he wasn't dead. Nobody, not dead. That's how these things work. So I have theories on Cowl. I'll talk about the end of the episode. So I knew Cowl would be back, or whatever, but he blasts the shit out of Harry when he finds out that he's eavesdropping on their conversation. So again, just showing that there is nothing to be played around with Scowl. He knows what the hell he's doing, right? So Scabious apparently is part of the White Court, and they feed off of despair, much like how House Wraith feeds off lust, and House Malvora feeds off fear. So they feed off of despair, dread. So that again, I like this, given these new twists of vampires. I think that's really great. Instead of just being bloodsuckers, I love this. I love all the stuff with the White Court. It does get a little convoluted. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I thought that the fairy stuff got convoluted and try to say, but the vampires are fine. Honestly, I'm more into vampires than I'm into fairies, so that might have something to do with it. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm trying to be fair here. I don't want to be saying like, oh, you said that the fairy stuff's too convoluted. Well, yeah, this gets kind of convoluted just a little bit, but again, nothing that's hard to follow. You just, write the names down, figure out the different houses, you'll be fine, or whatever. So Harry eventually tracks down Thomas to a boat with the help of Elaine, and they find the missing girls, a group of them that had been targeted, and Thomas reveals that he was protecting them. So interesting little twist there. He's basically going out and doing his own little Harry thing, helping those. We help the helpless, like Angel, right? And I think that's a really good turn there. And I just want to say that this is where I feel like the book kind of takes a turn. I want to say up front, I enjoy every Dresden book. I even like Full Moon that everybody likes to take a crap on. I'm not in the, every book's better than the last one. I can see why people say that, because each one builds off of it and they get more and more big, I guess you'd say, more epic in scope. So this is the first one of these books since, God, probably Summer Night that I wasn't just absolutely in love with. I didn't just find myself lost in it. And I think it's after Thomas's name is kind of cleared, it's kind of whatever to me until the finale. And I felt like that's the first time in one of these books where I feel like it's kind of had a little bit of a lull. Now, I know all of Butcher's stuff. He doesn't write fluff. I know everything he writes is important. I'm just saying this is, and I think this might actually have been burnout. Okay, I have read a bunch of these in a row, so this might be the first case of burnout with the series. I don't know. I'm reading Small Favor now, and I'm not having any real problems or whatever. But I did take like a 2-week break between those. So just wanted to get that out there before I go to the next parts where I actually have some criticism. But no, it's constructive. This is a very good book. Don't get me wrong. It's just probably my lower third at this point right now. But they're attacked on that boat by magical wraith and ghouls. And as Harry is shot out, we get a long flashback to New Mexico. And I'm going to say this is my favorite part of this book. This flashback made me think of Wizard and Glass a little bit. Not quite that long, but I liked it. They kept on mentioning the New Mexico thing and the training, like the younger students and whatnot. And it made me think that, this must be something from briefcases or side jobs. Okay, so I'll look forward to going back and read that. No, it's in this book, and it's actually really, really good. And it's a warden training camp with Lucio in her new body. And they're training teenagers because the council's that hard up for help at this point in their war with the Red Court. And the ghouls attack the camp, and they take a pair of trainees, these two 16-year-old twins. And Harry tracks them to a cave, and he finds them just horrifically murdered, like in the worst ways possible. And Harry goes dark. I mean, he's been going darker and darker since he's had the coin. So I expect, but man, this is the first time I see him just really just like, holy hell, this guy is not playing around. So he goes dark, he executes a ghoul, and he sends another one back with the message of never again. And it's a really, really, really good flashback. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and it's showing why, really, I guess, sometimes I forget that Harry's a warden now. because I feel like he just kind of took it on reluctantly, took it on to kind of pay the bills or whatever. And this kind of shows like one of the things of one of the pitfalls of training, some of these younger students is if, some of them, if I was thinking more of like if they washed out, they didn't work out, that would be, crushing. But to have them actually like murdered, on his watch too. So you can see why it's so personal. And like I said, it shows his continuing descent into darkness while on Lashl's watch here. But Thomas and Elaine save Harry from the current day fight when we flash back to real time here. And Murphy calls and tells him later that the Velvet Room, I think it was a storm front when this place was burned down, but it has been reopened by Johnny Marcone. So I'm like, all right, it's going to give me some Marcone in this one, right? Sorta. Again, he's there at the end, but it's not quite what I wanted. But I'll get there. Hang on. But they meet with the madam of this place. It's a prostitution thing. They meet this woman named Miss Demeter, and it turns out her name is Helen Beckett. And I was trying to remember, why do I know that name? Why do I know that name? I think she was also in Stormfront. I don't know. Maybe you guys can recall that. But Harry asked to soul gaze with her to understand why she's involved with Marcone. And we see that it was her kid that was killed in the collateral damage with Marcone, the gang violence that was mentioned in the previous book. And this is like, okay, so was this child the same one that was in a coma in Death Mask? That's what I'm thinking right now. I think we get our definitive answer at the end. But what I'm thinking right now is like, did the kid die or not? Is that the same kid that Marcone was with in Death Mask trying to use the shroud to heal her? So I got questions. For sure. But this is where Murphy has that talk about how she doesn't like his growing anger and darkness issues. It's something that some of the alphas brought up to him in the book before, when he was talking to Lashley and he didn't know it, when he didn't know she was real. I think that was Deadbeat, wasn't it? So usually that's the kind of thing that snaps Harry out of it, is when Murphy or Michael or somebody like that says something that someone that's real close to him they trust brings up that he's not acting like himself. And it's kind of needed. But what I said, that Lashiel and Lash have like this kind of a different thing, with almost like where they're different entities at this point. Lash is like an entity separate from the coin. Not entirely clear on it, but at least that's kind of how I took it. But you get some serious vampire court politics here. And I'm going to kind of glaze over them because I feel like this video is already going a little long here. But that leads us into the big finale. Harry calls Ramirez for help. Ramirez is flat out like, it's not that I don't trust you. It's that I don't like that you're keeping things from me. Some really good development for Ramirez. I feel like I've got kind of glossed over that character, but I'm liking every time I see him. I like him a little bit more. I think this is his third appearance. Was he in Proving Guilty? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is his second appearance. I think he might have just called him on the phone and Proving Guilty. I don't know. I'll have to look at the film. Anyway, but he's the one who calls out like, Harry, dude, you're speaking like these dead languages, and you can speak like every language and stuff. So people are on to Harry. They know something's up with him, and I think that's good development. But Harry, Ramirez, and Molly, they head to the Wraith Estate, and they accuse Madrigal and House Malvora of violating the Unseelie Accords, and he challenges them as a duel to the death with Ramirez as his second. Harry is able to take out Madrigal, but Vittoro Malvora, he calls for help from a master. I'm thinking that this is going to be that he who walks behind thing again, right? But a shitload of ghouls arrive, and they attack the wizards, vampires, whatever. It don't matter. They're going after it. And Harry moves the group into the Nevernever, where Thomas is there waiting to help fight with Murphy and Johnny Marcone and his muscle. And Harry asks them for his help. And I've made the reference before of Marcone and Harry whenever they work together. It makes me think of some really good issues of the comics, of DC Comics, when Superman and Lex Luthor are forced to work together. I love when these two have to work together, because I feel like it's from Harry's side of it is he feels like he's morally superior because he doesn't involve in crime, but I love the way that they paint Marcone as like, he's bad. It's kind of like Kingpin. I keep going with the comics references here. It's kind of like Kingpin. Crime is one thing, but crime is worse if this guy isn't in charge. So that's why the police kind of turn a blind eye at Marcone and whatnot. So I think it's like one of those things where Harry knows, hey, I should be able to take this guy down, but if I do, what replaces him? Probably something worse. But again, him having to, not really having to, he agrees on his own accord to help them here when he didn't have to. He didn't have any, he came there to get his person and get out. And he doesn't have to help, but he decides, okay, I'll help. And Harry's just like blown away by how good Marcone is as a tactician at his job. It's just good stuff. Really good stuff. But I think that might be my Marcone bias there a little bit. But Vittorio hits Harry with some kind of force that makes him like unable to get up, and Lash like slows time down for everybody except Harry. And she suggests that he accepts the power that she can give him or he's going to die. And Harry refuses, and he says that she has the power to help him without him giving in and accepting the coin. And she tells him that he does have power over outsiders. Outsiders, I think, is something we've got mentioned for the last couple of books now. I don't know a ton about. And tells him that he defeated one as a teenager. And that is, of course, this He Who Walks Behind. And every time I hear that, I think, or just, not He Who Walks Behind, it's He That Walks Behind. And that was my point here, is makes me think of Children of the Corn by Stephen King all the time. He Who Walks Behind the Rose. That's what I keep thinking of or whatever. So I don't imagine Jim Butcher didn't read Stephen King. So I don't know if that's the inspiration or not. Anyhow, so she helps Harry overcome the power and regain his strength by sacrificing herself. Okay, what implication is this exactly? Harry reveals that he made Marcone an offer to be made a freestanding Lord of the Unseelie Accords in the aftermath here. And Harry meets with Marcone for him to sign these accords and confirms the girl in a coma is Miss Demeter's daughter. So I'm assuming that she doesn't even know that her daughter's alive, because when Harry soul gazed with her, all he kept seeing that she's reliving over and over is seeing her child die. So if she doesn't know, unless I missed it, I don't think I did. That's what I got, is that she didn't even know. So that's interesting. That's interesting. I'm interested to see how that actually plays out, because I'm not seeing why she would be involved with Marcone, the guy who ended up with her, having her kid accidentally shot as collateral damage, unless she's just trying to get in deep so she can bury that knife in deep in his back eventually. So that's something to keep an eye on going forward. So Lash is seemingly gone. So Harry digs up the coin. The sigil's gone from his hand now, and he takes the coin to Father Forthill. And I keep wanting to say Foothill. I hope it's Forthill. I wrote Forthill in my notes here. But Harry visits Thomas working in a hair salon now, and he's taking little nibbles off the clientele for food, and that is how he is getting by. And you can only imagine someone as pretty as Thomas working in a hair salon, right? It just makes sense. And that's kind of where we're at. They kind of... I don't really think they had a rift or anything, but they had a little bit of unease between them, and I think it's all good now. So my final thoughts is, who the hell is Cal? My guess, and I'm sure this is going to be way off, please don't tell me if I'm wrong or right, is that he's the Merlin. I mean, that's the only person I could think of is this powerful, that's almost flicking Harry away like he's a flea. That's where I'm at. I think he's the Merlin in control of the White Council. If not, he's definitely the one pulling the strings within the White Council. So he's involved with the White Council in some shape or form, I believe. Next question, is Lashiel really gone? If it is, I think that's a really abrupt ending. Not that, I mean, it's been, 5 books now, it's slowly building. Well, I don't know. I guess we didn't really know anything between Death Mask and Deadbeat. Deadbeat, I think, is when she first really actually showed up. So, what, 7, 8, 9, 3 books now? You think, okay, that's good enough for a story arc or whatever. I just feel like that's not the end of this. It feels way too rapid. So I think we will be seeing Lash one more time. If not Lash, Lashiel. So Marcone is an ally. As much as I like that idea, I mean, I guess he refers to him as the devil I know. It makes sense. But it just seems like that one's going to backfire. For sure, right? That one's got to backfire. So you got Harry. Just seems like he's putting together all these allies at this point, and it makes a lot of sense. If he keeps suspecting that there's this great big conspiracy going on within the White Council, he's going to want to have all the allies that he can get, even if it's one that he pretends not to trust, like Marcone. I still say they got some kind of like underlying bromance going on, and I'm here for it. But like I said, I feel like this one's kind of not really the lower tier. If I've read 9 books, I'd put it probably at the bottom of the middle tier, because I think it's better than Full Moon. It's better than Stormfront. I like it better than Summer Night. I like it better than Blood Rights. But I just feel like the last couple have been really good. And this one, while it has big moments now, when I go through my notes, I'm like, yeah, these are all good stuff. Like I said, I think I might actually have burnout to blame on this. So this one might actually change over the course of time for me. But I really like Deadbeat, and I really like Proving Guilty. And this one just was kind of like, it's okay. And a quick little spoiler for you guys. I'm really liking Small Favor, and I think you guys know why. Because there's a certain number of characters in there that I like quite a bit. So that's where I'm at, guys. I feel like I said, this is the first case of maybe some little bit of burnout, but I don't know. Because like I said, I took a quick little break, and I'm enjoying Small Favor like I have all of these. So guys, drop in the comments. Let me know what you were thinking at this point. Yes, I know you guys are very anxious for me to get to changes. It's probably going to be happening in May. It's going to be happening in May. My schedule for May is White Knight, Small Favor. What's in between Small Favor and Change? Well, anyways, I'm reading 3 that month, not White Knight. So Small Favor, whatever's in between those two, and then Changes. God, I wish I could think of what it's called. I think it's Turncoat, maybe? I don't know. Anyhow, you expect me to do research before I do these videos? So that is the goal, guys. In May, I'm reading 3, and then in June, I'm going to read 3. That way, we're all clear and ready for a wish list, and maybe if I still get that advanced reader copy of Peace Talk. So we're getting closer, guys. It's going to happen. So drop in the comments spoilers for the first 9 books. Please, by all means, go for it. Please don't tell me anything that happens after that, because I don't want to know. So these are rhetorical questions. I don't want them answered. But I appreciate you guys talking to me, and I will talk to you in the comments. For Zare.